Welcome everyone to the second session of day 2 of the 13th edition of Business IT Conclave of the Bengal Chamber. So this session is Technology Pivots for Future. The session is being moderated by Mr. Anupam Datta, Member IT Committee Bengal Chamber. As panelists, we have Mr. Shantanu Mukherjee, Head of Blockchain and Practice and Principal Architect Mindtree Limited. Mr. Somnath Chatterjee, Global Advisory Lead for Hospitality and Real Estate Sector. And Mr. Karthikeyan Dayalamani, Head of Metaverse Practice and AR/VR Center of Excellence, COE Mindtree Limited. So before we begin the session, we'll have a look at a very short video of one of our sponsors.
The future can feel far away, just out of reach, like an enigma, and businesses strive to keep up, to be in alignment with the present. But in today's world, the present is already behind us, and what lies ahead is already here. At Mindtree, we turn long-term goals into short-term goals, speed into agility, disruptive growth into competitive differentiation, professionals into thought leaders, clients into teammates, and stagnancy into dynamism. Our company culture cultivates an environment where everyone can excel. Anchored by purpose, we value curiosity and learning. With sustainability, diversity, and philanthropic endeavors as driving forces, Mindtree ensures the future is within reach, and delivering ambitious results are at the core. By understanding your business's needs and challenges, and providing solutions that unlock value, efficiency, and innovation. When the world as a whole throws us unprecedented change, we embrace it, navigate it, and thrive on it, and get businesses to the future faster.
Thank you once again for joining us. May we request Mr. Anupam Datta to please take the session forward.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I think post-lunch always sometimes difficult unless the session becomes more interesting. So frankly speaking, when you talk about the future of the technology, the things get changed. And I can guarantee next year when we'll be talking, maybe we'll be talking something else. And also we're trying to see that how quickly we are evolving and the new technology is replacing the earlier one. Few of the cases people talk about that we have to depend on the earlier base technology. Based on that, we can innovate and evolve. But frankly speaking, every time we get challenged. So today we have fantastic 3 esteemed speakers with us. So what we're planning to do is that we're going to pick up 3 different areas or new technologies in this space, which right now is a buzzword. Obviously, it is not new, but this is a buzzword where people are investing, people are spending money, and also consumers are expecting. After that, we'll be talking about some of the practical solution, whether it's possible to demonstrate that. We'll show that to all of you, and post that we'll open for the question answer. So first, I'll invite Mr. Shantanu Mukherjee. So he heads the blockchain practice. As you can understand, the blockchain is a word is no longer new, but it is rapidly evolving, and organizations and the corporates are spending a lot of money on that. Also, the curiosity increased. So I'll invite Mr. Shantanu in case he can find it going ahead with the technology he wants to present today as the future technology.
Sure. Thank you, Anupam. I think we should start with the metaverse. So can you go with Karthik, if you don't mind?
Fantastic. I think both buzzwords are important. I'm sure the audience will be very much interested to know both of them. So maybe Karthikeyan, in case you are fine, we'll start with the metaverse. We have a session on metaverse the next few hours today itself, where more deep dive will happen. But Karthikeyan will do the kickstart and make sure that you understand the next session much better way. So we'll start with the Karthikeyan in case you're fine with that.
Thank you, Anupam.
Sure, Anupam. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Give me a second.
Perfect. We're able to see the screen.
Karthik, you want to mute?
So mute, unmute. This is something is getting very critical. So Karthik, you're on mute right now. You can see your screen. If you can unmute.
Yeah. You able to hear me now? Let me share my
Yes,
screen.
loud and clear. I think while sharing the screen, you're going on mute.
Hey, Karthik, if you're speaking, yeah, you're on mute.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when I'm sharing the screen, it's going on mute.
No problem. If someone
Let me
else can
try
share the
again.
screen.
In the meantime, we are sharing.
Perfect.
Karthik, if you stop sharing your screen, we are sharing your video and you can freely talk.
Sure. All right. All right. Hello, everybody. Very good afternoon. I'm Karthik. I head the Metaverse practice and the AR/VR Center of Excellence in Mindtree. So today, the first 15 minutes, we'll be discussing about the definition of metaverse. So if you could go to the next slide, please. Okay. So we'll define metaverse in simple terms, right? And we'll also look at what are the possibilities or opportunities for the CXOs of businesses and the enterprises that we are talking about. And we'll take a step back on the metaverse. We'll unpack the metaverse and see what are the various aspects which contribute or comprise the metaverse, right? We'll take a look at the different types of metaverses which are available in the market today. And we'll also look at the opportunities and prioritization frameworks, followed by a quick demo on how would a metaverse look like, right? So that's what we're going to do it in the next 15 minutes. You could go to the next slide, please. All right, there's no one single definition for metaverse. So if you look at the Investopedias, the Gartners of the world, and the Facebooks, everyone defines metaverse very differently, right? How can we create one definition which is very simple and understandable to a larger group? So that's the thought that we have, and that's what we're going to do in the next slide. Next slide, please. If you look at metaverse, right? So meta in Greek means beyond, and verse is the universe. So any experience beyond our universe, which is immersive and persistent, can be called as a metaverse experience. So that is the simplest way that we could define it. And if you look at Gartner, right? So Gartner is predicting that about 25% of the people will spend at least 1 hour per day in the metaverse by 2026. This is realistically possible. The reason why I'm telling it's possible is because during the COVID times, we were all so glued to our electronic devices that we spent multiple hours on these devices, right? Yeah. Next slide, please. Right. If you look at these CXO opportunities, what is metaverse used for? Why do we need metaverse, right? The CXOs have their own KPIs. Right? If you look from a reach perspective, they want to increase their brand presence and the reach, right? How do I increase the engagement? Okay, from by providing customer immersive experiences and also creating new channels of engagement and revenue, right? How do I increase my loyalty and conversion? Okay, using cryptos and NFTs. So that's the thought processes and the discussions that we've been having with a lot of CXOs. When I say CXOs, this can be CMOs, can be CIOs and CTOs of different enterprises and organizations. Right? One prime reason for metaverses is storytelling. So metaverse takes storytelling to a whole new level, right? How can I tell a story about my brand, right? How can I tell a story about my brand more powerfully and consistently is what a CMO is thinking, right? If you look and take an example, PNG actually launched a beauty sphere to tell about the how beautiful, how responsible the beauty approaches can come to life, right? So that's what they're trying to do. So you can also tell about a story saying, how do you source these ingredients for creating the products from a brand perspective, right? What are the processes that are involved? Okay, what are the sustainability measures that you have taken all the way to positioning that particular product in a retail store is what we are actually looking at from a storytelling perspective. A second point that you're looking at is a customer custodian, right? How can we create new channels of revenue and new engagement channels for our customers so that they can immersively interact with the experiences provided on the metaverse? So that's what the CMOs, the CDOs, and the CIOs are talking about. If you look at it from a CIO's perspective, they play multiple roles. One of the key things is, how do I create this technical expertise to deliver these metaverse experiences? That's something that we are looking at, right? If you look at metaverse as a perspective, it's not just one technology that is driving metaverse. It is an amalgamation of multiple technologies like AR, VR, MR, your blockchain, your AI, your cognitive AI, IoT, holograms, and so on, right? And next slide, please. So we'll take a step back and we'll see how can we unpack this metaverse, right? What are the various aspects of the metaverse that we can talk about, right? The first one is immersive, right? It gives us an awesomeness that defies the real world physics. What do we mean by that? Is that let's take a scenario wherein you're in a metaverse world, right? You're taking an experience, you're just walking through that different environments which are available as part of the metaverse. You're interacting with the products, with people, and so on. And with just a click of a button, you're getting teleported to a whole world altogether, right? So that teleportation is actually defying the real world physics. So that's what we are saying. But it actually creates that awesomeness, a wow effect for you while you're getting teleported to a whole new world. So immersive is one of the key aspects of metaverse. Interactive. You can actually touch a particular product on the metaverse. The product comes to life and just rotates in front of you in 360-degree. You take a look at it in 360-degree view. You select, you click on the product to understand the features above the product. You interact with the product by opening the doors. For example, you're clicking on a refrigerator. You open the door of a refrigerator. You take a look at the various sections in the refrigerator and so on. And you can also place this refrigerator right in front of you on your ground plane, right? You can see the fitment right in front of you in your house. So those are the kind of experiences that we are looking at from an interactive perspective. Social. So we will all been interacting with the social channels such as your Facebooks, the Instagrams of the world, right? So all we do while we are interacting is we either like, we share, or we comment. And these likes, shares, and comments have come a long way, okay, to get here to where we are right now. But looking at a metaverse perspective, it's bringing a new element into the picture, which is digital human or avatars that we call it, right? It's creating a subculture wherein we'll be interacting with the avatars, talking to the avatars of families and friends, asking them about the apparel that the avatar is wearing. Where did you buy it? How much does it cost? What are the accessories that you're wearing? Did you even did you get it for free? How did you get it from the brands? And all these kinds of interaction. This is very new. It's a new subculture that we are looking at, right? Informative. There's a whole lot of information that is available, and on the metaverse we are trying to see how can we learn in a more emotionally resonant way. Okay, trainings and learnings are one of the key aspects of metaverse. Marketplaces, right? Commerce is a big channel for the brands and businesses across the globe. How can they leverage metaverse for the commerce, right? By leveraging the token and the crypto economy for creating meta commerce is what we are calling it. So we've been through our physical commerce, we have been through the e-commerce, the m-commerce part of it. Now we are moving towards the meta commerce. Okay? Collaborative is one key aspect of metaverse, right? How do we get people together across geographies, allow them to do molecule based editing, right? They can do molecular editing. If you go to an automotive dealer who's trying to have designers across the globes and allowing them to collaborate with each other, they can have a car design, right? They're trying to change an engine and modify that particular car. The moment you change an engine, is there a misfit with the body? Or what is that body part that has to be changed? We can actually collaborate with each other with designers sitting across the globe, and we create a whole new car altogether, right? So these are some of the possibilities and the aspects of metaverse. So if you look at a holistic picture, metaverses are nothing but spatial 3D constructs which are hyper real. What we are saying here is these are 3D environments which are so photorealistic as possible, right? Is as photorealistic as it can get, and it is visceral. The main meaning of visceral is that it is deeper feeling, inner deep feeling that we get, and not connected with the intellect part of it, right? So I spoke about you getting teleported to different worlds in splash of seconds, right? Which are not possible in the physical reality. So these are the things which are defying the physics of reality. Yeah. Next slide, please. There are multiple types of metaverses that exist today, right? You've looked at the gaming metaverses. So metaverse actually acts as a catalyst wherein it brings the gaming industry and the business world together, right? Currently, they're operating as individual components. Bringing it together, they're trying to create value both for the businesses and the gaming world, right? The gaming world, there are Fortnites of the world, the Roblox of the world, and there are certain virtual worlds, right, called as Decentraland and Sandbox, wherein you can buy a parcel. These are pieces of land, virtual land available, and they're called as parcel. You can purchase the parcels, and you can actually create the entire metaverse experience and deploy on these parcels, so that any person who is on that particular metaverse or that Decentraland can visit the space that you have created, right? There are virtual marketplaces. Can I go back one slide, please? Sorry. Yeah, the virtual marketplaces wherein you can create 3D assets like the digital humans or the avatars that we spoke about, the apparel for the avatars, the accessories for the avatars. All these can be created and deployed as part of these marketplaces such as OpenSea, and you can drop NFTs for each of these as well, right? And there are metaverse platforms which exist today, right? Such as Facebook Meta. The challenge with Facebook Meta is going to be that they're going to own the data. The challenge for brands is that they need data. Data is very crucial for them to provide contextual based offerings and services, the right offer at the right place at the right time, right? So if Facebook owns all the data, they will try and monetize that particular data. So most of the interactions that we are having with our clients, the analysts and so on, they are looking at creating custom metaverses. The reason they are going towards custom metaverses is because of 4 key things, which is it provides highest level of customization and experience that they want to do. And then it gives them the complete ownership of the data, wherein they can cross-sell, upsell based on the customer's situation, right? They have the entire 360-degree view of the customer in place. Integration with their customer identity and access management systems and customer data platforms becomes highly easier for them and convenient when they create these custom metaverses. Next slide, please. All right. So we spoke about the technologies which help us create these metaverse experiences, right? So which is AR, VR, MR, Web VR, digital human, NLP, cognitive AI, blockchain, and hologram, right? All these technologies come together to help us create these metaverse immersive experiences, right? So what we are going to do next is that we are going to see what are the possibilities of metaverse, right? For consumers, for employees, and for enterprises. When we say enterprises, it's more of an industry 4.0 kind of scenarios, right? For consumers, how do we inspire consumers? How can we acquire consumers, and how do we engage consumers from a pre-purchase, during purchase, and a post-purchase scenario? So that is what we are looking at from a metaverse perspective, right? Can we provide gaming? Can we attract them to our particular metaverse? Can we provide them shopping kind of scenarios, okay, by creating virtual marketplaces? Can we provide entertainments? You would have seen Travis Scott create one of his shows on the metaverse, right? So can we create entertainments to attract more footfall to our metaverses? Can we have social interactions and trainings, right? Post purchase, most of the consumers typically need help to assemble a particular product or to even operate a particular product. Can we get them a do it yourself kind of trainings on the metaverse for them, right? So moving on to the employees, a lot of the businesses and enterprises that we are talking today are actually trying to create metaverse experiences for their employees because they want to validate these experiences first. It's more of digital insight, and then they want to take it to their customers, right? So trying to create metaverse experiences right from the start, which is during the induction part of it, creating virtual tours of their various campuses across the globe, giving them a view and a perspective about it, creating the entire digital end user computing workspaces, and allowing them to virtually collaborate with each other as well on the metaverse, and also providing them the trainings which are required to enhance their skill sets. From an enterprise perspective, if you look at it, Industry 4.0, it takes you through the entire value chain, starting with prototyping, sales and marketing, to customer experience, your training part of it, all the way to service and operations, right? Next slide, please. So we discussed a lot of opportunities and possibilities. So if a company, if an organization or a business wants to start with a metaverse kind of an experience, where do they start? How do we help them to start, right? So we looked at it more holistically from a 4 dimensions perspective. So two things that we looked at is how do we compare it with the business attractiveness versus an implementation complexity. We created a 4 quadrant structure wherein we wanted to identify what are the quick wins for these businesses, wherein they can start small, pilot it, validate it in the market, and then scale it accordingly, right? And in the process they can also start creating the competitive edges or the differentiating aspects on the metaverse, right? So if you look at some of the low hanging fruits, we call it as virtual events, which a lot of organizations are doing, and employee metaverses, wherein they're onboarding their employees onto the metaverse and giving them a very different experience on day one, right? So these are some of the low hanging fruits or the quick wins that the businesses can look at, right? And storytelling is here and now, but it will basically improve and evolve and amplify over a period of time, right? So those are the opportunities that we are looking at from a brand perspective or an organization perspective. There are platforms, right, to be created in the process. So there can be metaverse platforms that have been created for employees or for their end consumers, such as the brand consumers or their B2B customers as well, right? Allowing them to integrate with their consumer data platforms in the backend. There are some futuristic trends that we want to keep in mind as well. So just keep an eye on it, such as your virtual marketplaces. Imagine a virtual mall with very different retailers. You can have your Apple stores, you can have your toy stores, you can have the electronic stores, you can have virtual banks also as part of these virtual marketplaces, right? And decentralized metaverses is one of the key futuristic trend that we want to keep an eye on. Interoperability is one aspect. When we say interoperability, it is, say, assume that I have an avatar and I've purchased a lot of apparel and accessories for my avatar on, say, Decentraland. Can I take those avatars? Can I take my wallet also along with me from a Decentraland to a sandbox, from a sandbox to a Facebook platform, from a Facebook to another custom platform, provided all these are part of a DAO community, right? So that is the interoperability that we are actually talking about. Next slide, please. All right, we spoke about a lot of opportunities, the possibilities, and so on. We just wanted to show you a demo of how would a metaverse look like in case you want to onboard employees from an induction perspective. Can I share my screen quickly? I'll play the demo.
Sure. Maybe someone else.
Can you please stop sharing? Yeah, thanks.
Maybe a voiceover in case that again goes on mute in case sharing the screen.
Hi, I'm a new joinee. Can you help me complete my onboarding?
Hi. Welcome to Mindtree. Here, we have 3 simple steps to complete your onboarding. Create your profile with your personal details. Undergo several induction programs. Configure your laptop with the help of IT Digital Kiosk.
All right. So I hope you were able to hear the audio as well. So that's an experience we wanted to showcase more from a possibility standpoint, wherein you have your new joinees or employees getting onboarded onto the metaverse, wherein they interact with the digital humans, right, through voice being a new channel of choice for most of the new employees. You can interact with them. The bot answers from the back end. The bot is getting trained with all the possible questions, which are the FAQs. And we also saw that the employee was getting teleported to a different world altogether, right, on a click of a button. So these are the possibilities that we wanted to showcase, because verbally explaining it to somebody is very difficult for them to visualize. So we thought we'll show a visual of it and help them visualize as to what are the possibilities with metaverse. Over to you, Anupam. I think that's what I had.
Thank you, Karthik. And I think this should promote the work from home culture more. It seems like the people will come less in the office or during the onboarding. But yeah, no comments on that. I think the technology is there for us for any kind of extreme situations and all. So now we'll move to the next person. I think it is a transition which may sound very smooth in this specific forum. But if you ask me, this two technology itself is a quite different, dimension, though there are linkage and all. But this itself is a subject to talk for hours. I think our esteemed speakers are trying to do justice to talk about very high levels on each of the areas. So with that note, I'll quickly invite Mr. Shantanu Mukherjee, our expert on the blockchain, and definitely we'll be listening from him. Little different than what we have witnessed as a work from home or onboarding process of an employee, right? So Shantanu, over to you.
Thank you, Anupam. Thank you. And hi, this is Shantanu. And let's look into that what Mindtree thinks regarding the blockchain piece and the DeFi piece, how it is fitting in this metaverse. It was what the Karthik was showing. So so here is a quick disclaimer: is whatever the sources and the example names, I'll take it in this particular journey. It is just an indicative to for your future references. So having said that, let's see that we have seen that this particular device agnostic metaverse world is in a very early stage, right? And it needs a standardization. So when I'm saying standardization, it is in all format. It's for the policy, it's for exchanging any form of exchanges. So like let's take the trade piece here. So this metaverse world, we are seeing that it is encapsulating a range of factors factors of money, including the existing traditional forms of money, or it can upcoming digital native forms of money like cryptocurrency, stable coins, or CBDCs, as we know, right, which were out of scope in the pre-blockchain virtual worlds. Here, in our previous discussion also, Mr. Ghosh and Mr. Gandhi was mentioning that this particular total world is getting into a it's not matured yet, right? And of course, it's the limitations are there, like the withdrawal limits are there, no interoperability as of now between each of the exchanges which are there established, the volatility, anonymity, AML concerns. Even sometimes, the micro payments, wherever the CBDCs are getting, established, the micro payments are having the problem. And you can see in the slide that I have, phased out some of the key use cases which are getting used for each and every type of money in this, in this total, the world, the metaverse world. So, in my previous slide, you were seeing that we are going towards a token. So the tokens are, taking the driver's seat in this particular spectrum of the world, the new spectrum, the new horizon, where the gamers, the investors, the corporates, right, the users this NFT form of exchange, which requires a sovereign, right, a self-sovereign ownership for the users or the owners, which are tradable, composable, immutable, and most important, it's interoperable. So having said that, this particular, the form, we have token data as tokenomics. And you can see the parameters in the slide, which are like, the SSI, NFT, DeFi, utility, and DAO. So if I take it that individual users will be like, using a wallet, controls access to their identity, which is the SSI, self-sovereign identity, we know, the NFT piece, the securities, the utility, and the money for buying and selling in this particular metaverse world, which Karthik was mentioning earlier. The last part, which we are seeing as the DAO, which is, we know about, like, it's a decentralized autonomous organizations, which is an enterprise go-to-market as a network. So when I'm saying as a network, it will create a community, which, creates a purpose, a value, rules, which is like, to owning the control of the tokens, to which will govern the incentives for the users who are participating in that particular world, and to democratize the value as well. And for that, we are using the smart contracts governed trading, monetizing the NFT, which is like, by the data owner, which we already are aware of. So as we have seen in the metaverse, right, as Karthik was describing all the, the components, this particular component, this is a total ecosystem where we can see that it has the application layer, the access layer development, where Karthik was also mentioning, like, the virtual avatar, 3D modeling, and etc. There is a requirement of a protocol, right? Because each and every jurisdiction, if you see, wherever we go, there is a need of a protocol. So here also a protocol layer is required. And there is a need in this particular protocol, there is a need of being distributed, being decentralized, being immutable, being encrypted, and also tokenized. So all these 5 dimensions, if you like, put it into one box, that black box is coming as a blockchain, as you like, seeing here, which is providing you the consensus, the messaging, the trusted between, like, 2 avatars are interacting for the gaming, or it is, any of the entertainment and the e-commerce. This is a fantastic, the representation. I should, refer to all of you for the World Economic Forum, where you can see that the blockchain is in center, and the industries are looking for the solution of the problems they are going through. So guys, I repeat that blockchain is a pool from the industry wide to have their problems resolved, and not a push from the technology perspective. Again, I repeat, the blockchain is a pool from the industry perspective and not a push from the technology perspective. So as you, while I'm saying that, you can see there are several dimensions which have been mentioned in the concentric circle or outside the blockchain thing, right? And just for an example, in our context, the digital economy is only, having that, taking the advantage of 3 dimensions only. But it's the tokenization and the digital assets, the a governance piece, and the digital identity of the avatars. That's it. So here, one thing I want to mention, I very much like the quotation from Vitalik Buterin. Everybody knows that blockchain is trying to resolve something from the core, from the center of the problem, and not from the peripheral where other technologies are trying to play. So we are seeing to the digital, the asset, the currency, the, the concepts and the discussions, what it is. It is already, existing, as in our last session, it was getting described, right? It is the financial transactions and all those, the avenues are already, existing. But DeFi is a type of alternative finance market that makes use of the, the blockchain technology or the ledger technology, which is having a main goal to for a viable alternative for, the old system, centralized middleman focused approach. So when I'm saying middleman focused approach means whenever you see that our existing finance, the banking payments and everything, right? It is there is a a middle banks and everything. So if we can remove that particular, can we remove that third party or the middleman, which is functioning as a validating agent? And Ethereum in this particular case was the first to bring the DeFi to the public, and using the transparency, immutability, and the trust factors using the smart contracts in 1.0. This is a seismic transformation. What I see, that what are the token or the avenues or the channels which are getting used, right? So currently we know that it is only cash, right? Wherever we go or whatever we are transferring, that's a general instrument. But in this particular, the new world, it is coming up with the tokens or digital asset, which we can segregate into two different pieces, like, fungible tokens or non-fungible tokens. Or there are also types of stable coins, which are, supported by different collateralized by fiat currency or crypto, or there are some algorithmic applications are also there for the stable coins, and of course the CBDC. So my friends, here you can see the how it is getting, migrated to the different zone layer, where you can see the cryptocurrency, stablecoin, and the CBDCs are getting used. And again, it is not matured yet. So as in our last discussion, we were having, like, where we are going, even in Indian jurisdiction, whether the CBDC is going to accept or not. It was it was fantastically mentioned by Mr. Daftari that the things are, and Mr. Ghosh, that the things are moving, but in a very slow manner, but it is getting accepted. So it is not, this particular process is not illegal, but still now it is not legal. It's a very statement made by Mr. Ghosh. This is the oligopoly of global banking. Everybody has probably seen here, my friend, here see that the cash is there, and the cash is widely accessible, which is also peer-to-peer, and it is like, central bank issued. Now we are, targeting to this particular zone where retail CBDC and the, the wholesale CBDC, which is, again, centralized bank issued, and it is, digitized in a digitized format. I tried to, show you a DeFi ecosystem as a sample, where in a trade finance ecosystem, where if we are using the asset standards, the different asset standards, correct, the services are the same. We are not making any change in the current services, but we can address all these manipulations. Exactly, that's the target, right? Because the immutability, all those 5 dimensions, right? The being distributed, being decentralized, but being the single source of truth, immutable, and tokenized. These are the pieces which we can, very easily take care of and reduce the anomaly in any of the transactions. These are some of the, the DeFi use cases which are very much prevalent in the market. And let me take one use case and, share my thoughts with you. Let me take the compliance and the KYT, because that's much easier for us to understand. So KYC, guys, we know, right? It's know your customer, correct? So it's a protocol which are extensively emphasized in the traditional banking system. And these rules are the company's most important compliance terms and conditions, the instrument for implementing the AML and counter-terrorist financing, which is CFT measures. Any of the, the dimensions of the banking or the fintech you are going ahead. So here, the challenge is the KYC rules is like, showing the information, where DeFi is addressing the other side of the picture, that you need to have your privacy when you are, landing up on this particular platform. So there is a a opposite direction, or it's a north pole, south pole, it is coming. But the good part is that in the new thought of the KYT, which is knowing your transaction, where this decentralized infrastructure would be more concerned with your, the transaction behaviors and digital addresses than the user identities. So what does it mean? It means that each and every transaction, whichever it is, automatically the transaction itself will lead that whether that transaction is correct, whether it is having any anomaly, or it is fraudulent or not. It can directly, checked out of that. So some of the examples which MakerDAO, a company, and it's an ecosystem where SocGen has bond tokens of collateral about, I think, $20 million, and Tesla has closes nearly $7.8 million using the MakerDAO of that. There is another thing coming up while implementing these use cases, are permission DeFi protocols, which is a for the banking um, team. It is a permission walled garden, which is an example of you can think of AV. It's AV AAVE. It's just an example. This is something the market analysis we have done. As per the Gartner, it is like 3 trillion. It is going to be the crypto market, where 200 billion is locked for the DeFi smart contracts only, and NFT market is estimated nearly 21 billion by April 2022. So it is a huge market, and you can see, my friends, that where the major investments are and what are the market drivers based on this. So having said this, thank you for the time and consideration. Over to you.
Thank you. I think thanks. We have got a fair bit of idea in terms of how it works and what are the opportunities we have in each of the industries. And also you have taken a good amount of reference of the industries where they have confirmed that this is the future is going to be brighter. Though there is some legal and there are some restrictions and all, but still it is on the way. Yeah. So without spending much time, I'll quickly move to Mr. Chatterjee. I think we talked about the blockchain, we talked about DeFi, we talked about metaverse. So now your story to talk about how exactly it will look like in real life.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I'm Somnath, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to bring some magic in terms of a solution. That's what we call Genie, right? So Shantanu, please proceed forward. Shantanu, please proceed forward. Yeah. So folks, you see, in today's consumers, we tried studying their behavior a little bit in terms of certain parameters. Now, we understand that today's consumers, let's say millennials, Gen Zs, Gen X, all of them are living in the moment. Now, when you live in the moment, the basic philosophy of life is that you live in the moment, you buy in the moment, correct? And we call buying in the moment as impulse purchases. So if you look at it, even different statistics corroborate the fact. Impulse buying accounts for 40 to 80%, 52% consumers will take advantage given there is a sales promotion over a full price pay, right? 52% of the millennials are more likely to go for an impulse purchase as compared to their older generations. And then within premise print ad, that means you tend to see standees, you tend to see tent cards, posters within, let's say, a food court or within a retail space of an exclusive showroom, and those things, those kind of advertisements or marketing is termed as print ads, right, within premise. So that is roughly around $1.5 billion plus a whooping big market just for retail, travel, and hospitality. Think about other industries getting added to the mix, and this figure goes up. So everything looks fine. What is the problem area? So there is but a concern area. The concern area is that within premise print ad segment, which is $1 billion plus market, that spend is going out of the enterprises, proceed on to the next, is giving perhaps the lowest ROI, right? And why the lowest ROI? That's because there is no proper call to action. Example, you look at a burger picture. And what do I, as a marketer, expect? That you tend to look at that picture and then you tend to get hungry and then you go and buy. This is not a good way of doing things because I'm leaving entire thing as a variable, as an unknown onto you, right? I need to do something very positive to get you converted from your purchase intent to the actual purchase, right? So somebody, enterprises tried doing that with QR codes, but the problem with QR codes as it came apparent is that QR codes can be very easily mutilated because they are nothing but diagrams. They are nothing but coded diagrams. If I scratch a pen on that, if I give a different color on that, then you would not be able to decipher that diagram, which is encrypted. Point number one. Point number two is that they tend to, so any wrinkles, folds, destroy them. Different camera settings of different phones finds it difficult to focus depending upon ambient light and the distance between your camera or you and that particular poster, right? So in essence, what is happening is there is no deeper guest engagement. I need to engage you in that product. I need to make you feel interested in that product. And then I need to give a call to action for you to exactly go and do something on that. Then only I'm paving a way to bring that ROI to the table. Proceed on to the next. So we studied the generation next consumers on their loyalty points. Okay. So I have taken the liberty of using that word purchase basket. Generally, we go by the term market basket analysis, right? So new generation consumers use loyalty points, but they use it very, very contextually across their purchase basket. What does it mean? It means that, let's say my purchase basket has got a t-shirt, has got a pair of shoes, has got some weight training or fitness materials and a pen. I would like to use loyalty across all this. The traditional way was I would be using loyalty points for my high value purchase or only for the t-shirt, or t-shirts point for the t-shirt. That is breaking the barriers. They are saying we live in the moment. We need to be able to use this collection of points across the pot, not just for a specific product on the pot. So 75% consumers are more likely to purchase from brands who has got apps. That means they are giving them a very dedicated environment. 95% of the loyalty program members prefer newer technologies to be engaged. Okay. And we all know that it is easy for any marketer to sell to consumers who are your existing consumers, because the cost of, first, there is a cost of acquisition of new customers, and you really do not know how those new customers is going to respond back to your marketing stimuli, correct? But there is a problem, and the concern area is 85% of these loyalty points go unspent. Have you noticed your maybe HDFC, Citibank, all these card points sometimes go lapse? You really are not much aware of it. Why is it happening that way? So we poked into that matter. We tried going into the weeds of that matter, and we saw that loyalty points are going wasted because of limited scope of applicability. That means you are getting a chance to use that point on a specific product, or dictated by that enterprise on its own given choice of products which you may not like. For example, let's say you have got some Etihad points. Either you use purchasing an Etihad ticket, or you go to Etihad's e-commerce portal and look at a pen drive and think, I don't need a pen drive. Maybe I need a screw set. Maybe the screw set is not there in the inventory. Second point is instant gratification. What does it mean? You went for a movie, right? And you got some points. You came out and you are trying to catch up with your friends, planning that, hey, let's go to the nearby eatery. But then you cannot expend those points of the movie in the eatery, perhaps, correct? You are restricted to buy another ticket for another movie and then expend that point that you have accumulated today while watching that movie and buying tickets, right? And there is actually no exchange platform, just like stocks, for loyalty points. There is no loyalty point exchange platform, barring a few which are very tailor-made, co-branded loyalty programs, very restricted environments like, let's say, Alliance Partners or, maybe Gold Point Plus in US, right? So if there is not a technology services company or a product company who has come up with a platform saying, hey, you come here, you register yourself as a merchant, and boom, you have got access to other merchants, customer base in terms of exchanging the points. So proceed on. Then we understood that for today's consumers, delivery and timely delivery to your address or to your desired address is the key. The CEP market, as we call it, the courier, express and parcel market, is a whopping $360+ billion market in 2022, and it's increasing in leaps and bounds. And 41% customers said that reliable and faster delivery is what they're looking. That is the top of their consideration when they're going for shopping. And the three major challenges is that, for CEP market, the last mile delivery is a big challenge. So your 90% of the transportation would be smooth, but the last mile in the destination country would be problematic. And this market is very, very fragmented. Lots of franchises, small entities. So actual diffusion of technology to bind them together on a single information exchange kind of a scenario is missing. Only big players like, let's say, FedEx, or DHL are having robust technologies. If you look at the smaller entities in the market or the fragmented franchised entities in the market, the diffusion has not happened much. Proceed on. So lack of seamless information exchange, lack of digitization except for big players, and the absence of any uniform technology platform is what is inhibiting the ability to deliver for an on-the-go purchase instant, right? Last but not the least, today's consumers are extremely data sensitive. Look at that. 40% of your traffic is being tracked by Google alone, 15% of the web traffic by Twitter, and 4% by Microsoft, right? And then 53% of online users are more concerned about their internet privacy. 81% respondents feels helpless. They think that, we are not in control of the data, we cannot do anything. And 71% are trying to do something here and there by getting some ad and spam blockers and all whatnot, right? And in all of the previous slides, you saw there is one concern area, but here the whole aspect is a concern area, right? So proceed on. So we thought how to engage my consumers for all these in-premise marketing props, convert their purchase intent in their head into actual purchase, help them use their loyalty very seamlessly, pay effortlessly, right? And deliver their purchases to the desired address, all while making sure that their data is in safe hands while they are on the go. Because today's generation, again, they prefer living in the moment, right? On the flow, with the flow, right? So we thought, how about trying to reimagine this customer experience a little differently? Go ahead. So we thought, how about making the entire in-premise marketing stimulus to be responded with a tap. So tap and do anything that you want, right? Maybe a loyalty exchange platform to facilitate them use points from one merchant to another, right? Giving them an end-to-end digital platform that can help them handle documentation, handle the paperwork, handle payment reconciliation, so that seamlessly the purchase gets delivered to any corner of the globe. Let's say you are flying in a flight, looking at an in-flight magazine, trying to purchase something, but you do not generally purchase it because you have to get down at the destination address and then at the airport stand in a long queue and collect it. But let's say that is not there. Let's say you are sitting there in the airplane, choosing that, adding it to your cart and getting it shipped to Mumbai while you are traveling from Heathrow to Washington. How cool that can be, right? And then last but not the least, every time that you are doing this, your data is absolutely secure. Nobody can misuse it. So our proposition is engage on the go, purchase on the go, loyalty on the go, pay on the go, and deliver on the go. Quite a few tasks, isn't it? We cannot do it humanly. So we called Genie to the table. We named it as Genie on the go. Now there is a story behind this. Genie on the Go is a platform where 3 solutions, which were conceived by 3 different teams across 3 points in the globe, not knowing that the other would ever exist, came through a collaboration and got stitched together. One is MTAP, which is helping you to engage and purchase on the go. One is Swap, which is allowing you to exchange your loyalty points meaningfully, backed by an AI engine, and then pay while you are on the go for the remaining amount. And then last but not the least, this Cargo Mind Hub, which is allowing you to deliver the merchandise on the go, let's say while you are traveling in a train or you are flying at 30,000 feet above sea level. These are some of the solution highlights of these component solutions. Now, the beauty of Genie on the Go is that you can take Genie on the go, but you can even test it out with individual solutions, which are absolutely independently implementable solutions, having their own B2C component, having their own business to enterprise component for the management of those solutions. And together, but when you do it together in unison as a common platform like Genie, you bring more synergy and more value for your consumers, right? So, and that's with that digital tokenization. So for example, whenever you are giving an address, that address can be used by the third party with a token only once. They cannot misuse it. So they cannot sell that syndicated data to someone and then suddenly you tend to get a lot of leaflets in that address and you have got no clue how this address went on to this particular merchant or that particular organization. You need not be bothered about that. So let's see Genie in the action. what I'll try to do is that all that concept that I've talked about, I will try to show you through a very quickly put prototype. A day in the life of a Melissa, who is a business executive, a busy working woman, independent, and she's trying to make a difference in the world. Let's see how Genie is helping her all throughout, right? So the backdrop is this. Melissa is traveling from Frankfurt to Boston, let's say on a business trip. She got a little delayed in Boston and she went inside the airport and she's gone through the frisking, the security check, and her head is heavy, all those meetings. She needs a coffee desperately, but she doesn't really know which way to go. She doesn't want to waste time. She saw a standing. So first she opened up the airport and she saw to her surprise that there's an MTAP feature and it is onboarded. Says that if you click on this to activate your app so that it can read the MTAP service tags. So she's there, she tapped on it and she got this and she's all set. Then she noticed the standee, right? Yeah, she noticed the standee where there's a Peruvian mocha, right where the frisking got done. She went ahead, got interested, tapped her phone. Immediately, the web app of the airport got invoked. The Peruvian mocha got added to the cart, and she saw some of the other things that she might prefer. She didn't prefer that on that day because she just needed a coffee, and she made a payment. Let's see how she makes a payment. Whoa, you see, Swap opened up and it already adjusted based on its AI-driven engine, the Emirates Skype miles and the Marriott Bonvoy points, and she just needs to pay $1. So 2 and 1, $3 got adjusted to that 4, 1 needs to be paid. How cool can that be, right? And all this is happening because Swap is predicting this is the best ratio in which those points can be combined. She got the order done. She viewed the map. And it tells her where she is and where's that store. So she exactly knows where to navigate without wasting much time. She went there and she said, this is my order number, and then proceed on. And she's the person who is saying, I have received my order. So nobody can fraudulently take it. She says, yes, I have gotten the order, and how satisfied you are. So you can put here anything that you want. For example, you can put a quick question, quick numbers, some emoticons, whatever you want. Then once she's there, she went through the boarding, sipping her coffee, and she got boarded to the airplane. She's well settled on the seat. But then she thinks, oops, I forgot to purchase the in-flight Wi-Fi. I need to catch up on my emails. And this is going to take a long-haul flight, let's say 8 to 10 hours. So she finds this passenger safety card on the back pocket of the previous seat where there's an MTAP logo. She taps her phone. By this time, she's understanding what MTAP is, right? And then the INX Airlines native app opens up. The in-flight Wi-Fi gets added to the card and she's trying to pay for it. Again, Swap comes into picture and says, hey, you know what? You have got some Skyward miles and some Bonvoy points and you can adjust $7 here. You just need to pay $1. So every time you are seeing that those points, which could have gone under your nose, are getting picked up by Swap, and it is presenting based on your usage pattern that this is the best ratio in which these points can be combined, right? So that you can make meaningful purchase through it, right? And then she purchased the in-flight Wi-Fi, right? She's all happy because she can now catch up on her emails. She gets to, and we have incorporated this survey thing because generally what happens is that people tend to talk too much about bad experiences, but it is equally important for an enterprise to understand what are the good experiences. Then she's sitting there on the flight, all emails being caught up properly, but she's thinking that, oops, I have missed some near and dear ones, a birthday, right? And I should have purchased something and sent it across. Now, she went ahead and saw that in-flight magazine. Do you see that there's a difference? The in-flight magazine is a glossy magazine of certain pages, paper bound, which is kept in the back pocket of the previous seat. We say, change it this way. Just give one page, reduce the number of pages, save the trees, save the aviation fuel, reduce your carbon footprint. You just tap your phone there and entire magazine would be rendered on your handheld, because who doesn't have a handheld these days, right? Everybody is having a smart handheld, right? 99.99% of the passengers would be having that. So it is, and now that you are, hooked onto the in-flight Wi-Fi, it does make all the sense that you tap your phone there and get the in-flight magazine rendered on your handheld. Proceed on. You get the catalog, you select something that you wanted to purchase, added it to the cart, and then you see here a nifty feature. Would you like to get it shipped to a desired address? There comes the difference. So you add the address here, the default address from your wallet comes, and otherwise you could have added it and then proceeded on to pay. You end up paying again through swap very meaningfully, and you are happy about it. Yeah, please go ahead and pay. Yeah, buy, and it is confirmed. So all we are trying to do is we are trying to put consumer right in front of me, and it is a guest-centric or consumer-centric approach that Genie is taking all the way, okay, bit by bit in your journey, at a day in your life or whatever, and then helping you out in every step of the way to get an experience which is very, very seamless, right? Which is absolutely seamless, right? And which is less of friction, and which is very convenient, right? And which is very intuitive. So here I'll stop, and the floor is open for questions, I would believe.
Perfect. I think thank you for wonderful, the experience. I was literally visualizing the entire experience by myself while I'm going through the same, travel and all. Now, frankly speaking, I'm a little confused. I'm confused for two reasons, right? One, in the first session, Karthik has shown us that you do not need to travel. It's absolutely fine. Go virtual, be in the metaverse, and do onboarding, right? The second case here, giving the experience more for the people who are traveling. So first question, maybe I'll ask to Mr. Somnath that how do you think this metaverse, which Karthik has talked about, is going to impact the industry which you referred, the travel and real estate industries? Or is there any going to be impact or not?
So I think for real estate industry, metaverse would be a huge augmentation. So you must be knowing that if you take real estate per se, it can be broadly classified into two segments: residential real estate and commercial real estate. Correct? For both real estate purchase, for ownership, for residential purposes, or for leasing it out for commercial purposes, it's a high value purchase. It is not perhaps it's a person's whole life's money that he or she is putting into it, right? So it is but very, very important to understand what you are buying. And oftentimes you end up buying something and regret it for the next 20 years, be it a commercial space. So I had experiences previously in my previous organization where I saw people leased out a Class A office space of 500 people, and calculation wise, 500 people can be seated there. But the problem is when you actually consider the practical considerations of lighting, FDA regulations and everything, then only 450 people can be seated there. Nobody understood that ballgame. But with Karthik's metaverse, now that thing would be live, right? So you can take in a commercial real estate or a residential real estate much more informed decision. You can understand every inch of the space that you are going to buy with your hard-earned money. You are going to understand exactly how that carpet area is going to impact you or your business or your life, correct? So I would say it would be more of an augmentation in that business, in real estate particularly. Now coming to hospitality and travel, correct? So in travel, I think metaverse is not going to cut in your worldly travels. Let's say you are traveling to Paris versus you are going to metaverse and climbing on the Eiffel Tower. They are not the same, because that is an experience which is completely different from this one. But what would come out as a disruptive market in travel is you can travel space. Who is stopping you from traveling to moon, right? How will you ever get that in a budget of, let's say, $100? If somebody tells you, I can give you a real life experience in $100 traveling to moon and back. These days we are hearing this phrase quite a bit, right?
Correct.
Right? To the moon and back. So literally you can travel to the moon and back. You can go to the front of the sun, experience that and come back, correct? So these kind of disruptive travels would be coming. But what I think is in the hospitality industry, there is a space in which metaverse can be really, really used very meaningfully, which is understanding the type of hotel. Because mostly I have seen in hospitality industry, there's a huge customer grievance section. Okay, name any hotel, be big or small, they have got this grievance, and that number is quite high. I can tell you to the tune of 15 to 20%, that I did not get the type of room that I actually saw when I purchased it on the site. right? So that can
So
be
that
done
means, like,
available.
we are going to have like the real life experience, which normally we don't get using the metaverse.
Correct.
But maybe I'll ask Karthikeyan quickly. I know there is multiple questions which is there in the forum. Uh, is India is ready for such experience, or is there any market for it in various sectors in India?
Right. So if you look at the metaverse experiences, right? So there are multiple industries that it is applicable to. Take real estate. You talk about the banking and financial industry. You talk about the travel, the hospitality that Somnath just spoke about. It has multiple applications, right? So if you look at when you say India market, so these experiences are not tied to these specific devices, right? So a lot of people, there is a misconception that we can visualize metaverse experiences only through head-mounted devices. Not the case, right? To make it more pervasive, so there is a concept or technology called Web VR, wherein these metaverse experiences can be experienced through your browsers of your laptops, your mobile phones, and your iPads or the tablets as well, right? So that makes it more pervasive and reach the nooks and corners of geographies, right? The moment we take it to a specific head-mounted device, it becomes a challenge, right? The availability, the cost, the affordability, all these aspects come into the picture the moment we tie it. But again, it's a trade-off that the businesses and the brands have to take as to if they want to make it more pervasive across geographies, or do they want to actually sample a segment of customers and then target them. So it could be just their high-end customers.
Yeah. So I think it answered the other question people asked, like whether metaverse is only related to the gaming industry or not. But what Karthikeyan has said, that it can be across all the industry. That's fantastic. And coming back to the Indian context, it is very much relevant, and the people are talking about. Coming
And
back to
also,
the
I would
Indian
like
context, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say one thing here. The biggest industry which is going to take metaverse into picture is maintenance for the heavy industries and
Yeah.
airline and other travel and shipbuilding, wherein it is very, very difficult to go to certain parts of that device to understand it. Very time consuming. With this metaverse, a lot of training and a lot of proactive maintenance can be taken for those things. So instrumentation and engineering would be a big sector, I think.
Perfect. The last question I'll go to Mr. Shantanu. I think we talked about DeFi, we talked about blockchain, and we talked about Indian context to Karthikeyan. So frankly speaking, regulation when it comes to the picture, India is very strict in that.
Yeah.
So how do you think that is going to stop the growth of the technology which you're thinking about? I think that is the last question before we sign up.
Sure. Thank you, Anupam. So, as I see this particular, the regulatory body, they need to think from the current state to the operational policy new agenda they should be having, where three mainly the dimensions are what I see is the security, the inclusion, and the efficiency. So, from the security standpoint, you can think of the resiliency, the security of the equipped to, the protect the privacy. From the inclusion perspective, you may think of something participating, because it's a autonomous body, right? So it's an open and inclusive that particular platform should be, which is the information. And the third one is the efficiency, where it is like the disintermediated, efficient and sustainable existing adequate infrastructure should be there. So in that way, the regulator may need to change their policy and go ahead. Anupam.
Fantastic. I think the optimism is there. I can hear from Shantanu clearly that it will be faster than the way we're thinking. And frankly speaking, the subject three, a couple of subjects we talked about, it needs hours to do a justice to the subject. And also, we have amazing speaker. We have been listening to them and getting some examples also. But time is something which needs to take check. So this will be our, the session which ends, but with a quick note that I think what it needs right now is the time and the adoption. That has changed significantly over the years. Think about the time when a telephone user base used to reach in a century that a social media can reach in months, right? So the adoption of the users and the young generation, I think Gen Next, which you're talking about, they're very much key to adopt these kind of technologies. And I'm obviously sure that it is going to be more encouraging for many of us on the technology space and the audience who are there in that list. We have the speakers there. You can reach out to them in future. And with that note, thanks again, Bengal Chamber, to organize this session, and also our three speakers, Mr. Somnath, Mr. Karthikeyan, and Mr. Shantanu for the amazing sessions we had. So I'm handing over to Angana.
Thanks to
Thank
Ms.
you.
Anupam Datta also, and
Thank you,
thanks to
Anupam.
all our panelists and the moderator for making this so engaging. And we couldn't cover, I think, few questions here which came from the audience. So a session on similar topic will be held at 5:30 p.m. IST. You may join back. We will try and cover those questions there. And we will close this with a short video from our sponsor.
The best time to adopt a cloud strategy was 5 years ago. Today, enterprises are transforming rapidly to stay relevant and go head-to-head with born-in-the-cloud businesses. And yet, many of them are unable to leverage the full power of the cloud. In the face of challenges ranging from rigid architecture to lengthy migrations, the arrival of hyperscale clouds in India, along with advanced network technologies, make it possible to have cloud adjacency to create a secure, hybrid, multi-cloud architecture. The cloud-adjacent data centers with hyperscale Cloud Connect endpoints provide very low latency access to deploy hybrid workloads across the public and private resources effectively. And thus, the next best time for a fresh look at your cloud strategy is now with hybrid and multi-cloud. With hybrid, the unique capabilities of different platforms can now be efficiently utilized. For example, the power of a hyperscale AI ML can be federated with data in a private cloud. Likewise, a hyperscale database can be deployed with another hyperscale web application. 10,000 businesses today are empowered by SIFI to leverage the game-changing benefits of the cloud. With its hybrid and multi-cloud capability, SIFI can help you execute your strategic vision of business transformation with efficiency and simplicity. SIFI is committed to making the cloud secure, efficient, and reliable. From a single window, we deliver value across the complete spectrum, including infrastructure, platforms, and applications, offering flexible commercial models which are component-aligned, usage-aligned, and business outcome aligned. With SIFI's Cloud Infinite CMP, comprising best-of-the-breed service management platforms, it provides a strategic advantage for customer success. Engage with SIFI to explore opportunities to reduce the costs and complexities of cloud operations. Engage more with Cloud at the Core.